and new episodes go up every Tuesday and Thursday.
Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Beyond Ecom with your host, Netta Dowdell. It is a solo interview today, so I wanted to give you guys a little more of an insight into me. So, a lot of you guys don't know about my background, so I'm going to dig into that a little bit. So, it, I'm catching up to exactly like where I should be in life mentally, especially giving myself the benefit of the doubt, not engaging in self-sabotaging behaviors and things of that sort. But I was literally a teacher 6 months ago. No cap. I was in my class. I wasn't in my classroom 6 months ago. I was working summer school, just really dug into developing the school, connecting with kids, developing them. And I found myself thinking about self sabotaging behaviors. I also had a mental breakdown, and this was like March or April. And I wasn't really open at that point to thinking about my spirituality or getting connected with God and trying to figure out why I was feeling such a way. So it was really difficult for me to figure out, especially while teaching and trying to make sure that my kids are getting the grades they're supposed to be getting and passing tests and all this other stuff. There's so much chaos that happens while you're teaching. None of anything that I needed to be considering was actually being considered at all. Didn't have the capacity for it. So I was feeling really empty. And I mean, just times that I feel really empty, I don't really have a therapist or a like a church leader or something that I've always wanted to be able to dig into someone like that, but we're nomads. We move around so much, it's not even really possible to have a church home. So I've always wanted to have somebody that I could confide in, but it hasn't been my parents. It's not my husband because it's such a internal battle that I find myself going through in certain seasons, just complete self-sabotage. And I would try to remedy that by, pouring into other people, having game nights, giving unsolicited advice, stuff like that. Stuff people will never use, but it will make me feel better, right? It will make me feel like I'm I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and helping people, but nobody want to hear that. And especially not the people that aren't asking for it. So it was a really dangerous behavior, dangerous time. Anyways, I ended up having a mental breakdown, and I remember just being with my old friend and just talking about the bad decisions that I noticed myself dealing with concerning like drugs and concerning just being like really depressed and really down. Um, and just when I get into this space where I'm just like emotionally confused. It's just a lot going on. Um, it's just I feel like something that has really been impacting my family for like so long, and I still deal with it to this day. And that's just the temptation, the sexual temptations, which is a whole nother episode. I'm not even gonna get into it with you right now. But yeah, that's some self-sabotaging behaviors. Some of the things that have just been tempted to me like during that time of emptiness. So I had ended up having like a really bad breakup with my sister, and it was very revealing for me because I broke up with a lot of people at that time. Just a lot of relationships had fell off, and I really had to sit there like, was that relationship serving me ever, or was I using it as a crutch and thereby holding her back or holding those people back. And the reality was I was holding those people back because it made me feel better. It made me feel like I was being used for something that ain't have nothing to do with me. How many times have you felt like I'm just gonna do it because I'm feeling like I'm being used for something, but nah, play. It never turns out how you desire for it to turn out, and that situation didn't. It was really bad. But going on from that, I said, man, God, what are you trying to tell me? So I go into my closet praying hard. I mean, it really ain't come to me till like 2 weeks before we were supposed to go back to the school. And I'm like, I'm just mentally not there. I'm mentally not in the classroom. And this is the first time this has happened. The classroom wasn't necessarily hard for me, but I always felt like an outsider. I always felt like every single school I've been to, I was at like 4 or 5 different schools. Every single school I've been to, I've been an outlier. They're like, oh yeah, you get the results that you need for the position, but you don't do it in a way that we could replicate or we could put you in a leadership position. So yeah, that leadership position probably would never go to you. And it was really heartbreaking for me. So I had to really sit in my prayer closet and kind of figure out what exactly I wanted. And it was very difficult for me to ask of my husband to be like, hey, I know we are two income household. And I mean, all of our side hustles, all of our projections and stuff is based on both of us working because I enjoy working. But I'm finna quit. That was exactly how it was. I was like, I can't do this no more. Oh my gosh. I was like, I cannot do this no more. So yeah, it was like I had waited and waited. I had like prayed on it. We had gone to volunteer at churches and I had read Pastor Keon's book about the shift, which was like revealing and everything and most certainly helped my perspective on everything. But I waited until the night before and I had typed up a a notice that I wasn't gonna return. And then I also had my assistant principal's number in my phone. And they had talked, they had called, and I was just like, mentally, I don't have the capacity to be the person that y'all need me to be. And I just left the school in June. We were going back to work in July. There was no way I was gonna get any time to really settle down. And I feel like God really had a reason for that. But I haven't been employed since then. Literally have not. And every single month, we've made a way. God has certainly made a way for us. So ever since then, I've had 2 or 3 months of trying to get clarity, hopping into the morning meetup. And here I am going into 2022, still working on my side business and developing myself and trying to get myself out there. So I say that to say, damn. I say that to say, damn, like what I foresee, I don't even know. Like honestly, I could not tell you. And that's people ask, I'm like, it's all God. Honestly, because I could not have put this on my plans and been like, yeah, I executed that. What's up? I was in that thing, you know what I'm saying? What's up? Did not happen like that at all. So right now, I think I really owe it to myself to be about my business and start executing. So that's what we're doing now. We we were actually watching YouTube, and that's why I'm like, YouTube could be really life changing. It is. We were watching YouTube and was really in touch with my spirituality at that moment, like really talking to God and things like that. And he's like, Costa Rica, you're hilarious. I own a house right now. I own a house right now. I just bought this house in September. of last year, of 2020. And when I bought the house, it was a new build. So I signed for it, or we signed for it in April of 2020. Nobody knew what was going on, what was going to happen with COVID. What could have really happened was we bought the house for 260. The house could have depreciated. Everything could have fallen apart at that point. But it was a risk we were willing to take, and the builder was willing to take too, apparently, because we just did the leasing company through them or whatever. But after signing for that, we were like, yeah, we're gonna live in this house for 5 years because we like owe it to ourselves. We've been nomads, we've been moving around everywhere. We really owe it to ourselves to stay somewhere. I'm like, yes. Gabe, 5 years, Gabe is gonna be, he would have been like 7, going to the good, suburban areas. Don't even get me started on suburban areas. That's another conversation. But it was a nice little suburban area. And a year later, God was like, Costa Rica, stop playing with me, man. So I'm really itching in my bones because I'm like, I just told my husband that I'm not going back to my job. We don't have the income coming in. Our lifestyle is based on both of us having income, which is like, it was like $2,000 below what our take home was. So we were able to put that $2,000 toward the side hustle. But that also meant it was $2,000 over what one person was making. So my husband was like, come on, man, you killing me. You killing me. I remember this like it was yesterday. We were driving down the street and I'm like shaking in my bones. I'm in the passenger seat and we were on our way to Kroger. And sometimes when my husband, like, you gotta insert something in his ear first. You know how people do that phone call before they ask you for the money? That's how you gotta do my husband. I'm like, so babe. So babe. I was just thinking, what do we have to lose if we were to move to Costa Rica? With that interrupting anything, is it plausible? And he was like, I mean, what you mean? We have a whole house, we have Gabe, I have a job, all that. How are we gonna work? Any of that? Those are all really valid questions, babe. But I don't have answers for none of it. My inclination right now is just like, God is like, Costa Rica. Can you give me a little more clarity? Because we watched the video, there was like 10 cities for 10 cities or 10 countries that were welcoming to Black expats. And Panama was one of them, Ghana was one of them, Costa Rica obviously was one of them, Mexico City was one of them. But I'm saying I'm, just doing regular stuff. And God's like, Costa Rica. I don't know what you have for me here, Lord. But I had gone through that mental breakdown. So I was like, whatever you got for me is better than what I've been doing before. Because I feel like everything that I had been doing before was a force. It was a force. It wasn't necessarily a force to be a teacher, but just because you're good at something, that doesn't necessarily mean you have the passion for it. And that's what I felt like teaching essentially became. I was just like, I'm good at this. I smash records, but I'm really not going to put into it what I need to to be an outlier. You know what I'm saying? I was like, it's easy. Can I do this for 30 years? I mean, who knows what we're gonna be doing in the next 30 years? But yeah, so I put that bug in his ear, and this was like late August or September. My September came, and I was talking to him in the grocery store, right? I'm like, the realtor that sold us the house, but really didn't sell us the house because he was getting married at the time, and I found the builder. So I looked through it. He came, looked at the neighborhood. He was like, "Oh yeah, I know this area, so it's really good to go." And that's about all he did. I had contacted him back because I'm like, I'm not finna put in a whole bunch of work to try and find a new realtor or whatever. It is what it is. They got a good firm. Let's keep it moving. They was getting married or whatever. So reached back out to him. His now wife actually sells a house. Like he was a part of the business that looked for houses, and she was part of the business that sold the houses. So I'm like, "Do, do, do, do. Hey, so and so, we ready to put her house on the market." And at this point, I was aware that the market was booming. And I also, it might have been a couple of scare tactics or whatever, but I had also heard on YouTube and various other places that, this wasn't guaranteed, that it can very well go down. Because at that point, we had bought the house for 260, and then we had sold the house for 350. And that didn't include the taxes and the mortgage insurance and all that we ended up getting back too. So after I contacted him, 5 minutes later, no cap, 5 minutes later, she messaged me. She's like, "Hey, so and so, my husband was telling me that y'all already set a house. Yeah. When can I come by?" It was a weekend, Monday. No lie. Monday, no lie. Like when I talk about execution, I'm done with all the false promises that I felt like I could fulfill by myself outside of God's purpose for me. Psh, you know how much effort I was putting into trying to develop into something that was outside of my passion, my purpose, my talents, to just like charter new lands. Like we're not on no Christopher Columbus tip at all. We are using what we have, get where we need to be. We're not asking no king, no queen. We're not looking for no confirmation, nothing like that. So after she was like, "Yeah, I could come up to the house, look around, and we can make this thing happen," I'm like, "Bet." Literally, week passed. Then are taking pictures, drone shots, all of that. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I gotta clean up the house." So we had a cleaning service. They came and they cleaned the house, but then I was like, "Shit, we gotta keep it clean," because people are gonna continue to um come through the house or whatever. So we gave most of our furniture to our family. No biggie. It's too much like trying to sell it. We had some inventory left over. That is what we sold, which was still a lot. It was still a lot. They took a big U-Haul back to Oklahoma, which I'm originally from, Oklahoma, real small, really small place. But I'm originally from Oklahoma. They took it back to Oklahoma, and we still had a lot to sell. Anywho, September, we we put it on in September. It sold like that weekend. We had a couple of people come through. Um, there was only two offers. Like it went on the market on Friday. By Sunday, we had two offers. We took one. It wasn't really that deep for me. I also had a friend that was selling their house at the time, and they did like a week and took the best offer. It ain't that deep to me, honestly. So they did that. We just accepted the first and best offer, which was, I don't even know why they would tell us, like, what does it matter to me? We still gonna get the paycheck. But they were saying they put 200 grand down. I don't know if I would put no cash up in no house like that unless I was trapping. But they put 200 grand down. I was like, oh, that's saucy. They put 200 grand down and then they financed the rest. But I was like, maybe one day, maybe one day. Anyways, they did that and we moved. We had to sign on the house by November 4th. I think it was November 4th because they had the content creation in Atlanta on that very same day. And we was really trying to go. And they were like, oh, you could get a notary in the area to do this and this. And I was like, no, that's too much work. So we stayed in Texas. Oh, excuse me. And flew out. It's like midnight, 1 o'clock here. But I had to take this. I was so inspired by Country Wayne's on his Vlad interview. And they were like, he was putting out one interview a day. They was putting out work. So I'm here. And I'm gonna go get these interviews, okay? Okay. But yeah, we went to Dallas. We flew from Dallas to Atlanta. We missed the content creation, but that weekend they were having a morning meetup on Sunday. So we ended up making that. I got to see my people. And then we spent like 2 weeks in Atlanta and we had a tour in Costa Rica that showed us around where we should stay and things of that sort. So we ended up moving to Costa Rica after the tour and after coming back from Miami. So this is where I am. I feel like it hasn't been that much time, but also this is maybe the distance that I needed, the disconnect that I needed, that God needed for me to really push. Because I was a little too comfortable, 200 square foot house, nice suburban area, 2 cars, 2 incomes. Like, God really had me living in comfort. So we came to Costa Rica and we now stay in, this actually isn't bad square footage. It ain't that much to clean up, that's for sure. But 1,200, it got to be like 1,200 square feet, 2 bed, 1 bath. And we are out here taking it. But I realized that I'm really not hustling. I'm still like in this place of comfort. And I keep on telling myself, oh, we just got here. We need to get settled, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. And we have the cameras, we have everything we need to be successful. I just got to go out there and get it. So this is my beginning. This is like the longest talk I've ever done. 40 minutes. Yes. I don't be talking, y'all, but I am. I'm talking now to everybody for me to share a little bit about myself and also my beginnings. So that's a little bit about me. Hopefully the next interviews that I do will really dig into e-commerce, but I wanted y'all to know who I am as a person. Yeah, the next one we could talk about my e-commerce business because it's a big story with it. All right. Until next time, guys, subscribe, like, comment, whatever you got to do. Tell me if you like it, you dislike it. Don't be too hard on me though, because I'm trying to come out and see you guys a little more.